and welcome to this week's episode of My Dog Ate My Podcast. I'm your host, Emily, and every week I chat with a different dog owner about their dog. This week I'm chatting with Charlie, who is the proud father of firstborn daughter Alice and secondborn son Reed, about his 7-year-old golden retriever Alice. Enjoy! Thanks for agreeing to do this also last minute.
Yeah, of course.
Even though we won't have Alice on the call, I'll throw
I
in a
know, I'm
bunch of like
sorry.
photos of Alice. So I know that you mentioned that she's 7, but you weren't sure if she's 7. So how long have you had her for?
I've had her since she was at least 5 months old. So I got her, I think, in 2018.
And did you get her from like a breeder or did you rescue her or how did you end up with her? If you
Yeah,
remember.
so no, I definitely remember. When I was in nursing school, I had a colleague that had these really large golden retrievers that were like 120 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
And they were therapy dogs. One was a worked, I think, actually with in the CIA. Like he was really really smart. And I would always joke, I'm like, hey, if you ever want to get rid of your dogs, like I would love. I've just never seen a dog like that. And I was always against breeders, but like I had Goldens growing up, so I asked her, where did you get them? And she was like, oh, my husband's from Arkansas, and so there's a breeder out there. And I was like, oh, how much did you pay? She was like, oh, it's $4,000 or whatever. I'm like, I'm never going to pay that for a dog ever. But anyhow, she ended up reaching out as I was finishing nursing school and saying, hey, my breeder had a bunch of puppies and there was a runt that they can't really seem to sell. So she's willing to get rid of her for like $200. Or there was two runts at the time. And she had already found another person for the other puppy that was living in LA. So she was like, hey, this lady's going to fly out this puppy. Do you want the other one? And you could just go meet up with her and like I would take care of it from Arkansas. And I was like, yeah. So I ended up, yeah, paying $200 for your nice little golden, the runt, and the flight was paid for by this other wealthy person.
And she's normal golden size, right? So as the runt of this like massively
Right.
sized golden lineage, she's pretty normal size,
Yeah,
I would
she's still a
say.
big
Yeah.
girl. She's 85 pounds. Like,
Okay.
uh, yeah, which, yeah, it's funny because she was really small for a long time, but yeah, now she's completely normal standard. So I guess I won in the end.
And how did you decide? Was she already named Alice when you adopted her, or how did you decide on the name?
It's a great question. I mean, I'm sure you've tried naming a dog before you actually meet them, and it just never works. I don't know, to be honest. I just bounced around with a lot of names and asked a lot of opinions and heard a lot of names I didn't like. And then somehow I was watching something related to Alice in Wonderland, and at the time she was just kind of a little loosey goosey, sniffing, eating everything, normal puppy. And
Yeah.
it seemed to fit her personality. I don't know. People ask me that a lot, and I'm like, I actually don't really know how I settled on it.
It seems like she's really sweet, and so it feels like it matches her personality. Like I think of Alice as like a very like sweet name.
Hmm.
And so I think it matches. But how is she in terms of like being like typical golden retriever versus the other golden retrievers that you've grown up with?
I think she's pretty on point, like obsessed with tennis ball. Like, I guess my first golden retriever wasn't like really much of a retriever. She was more of just like, I want to hang out with you. You're a stranger. I would love to hang out with you, or vice versa. And Alice is like that too. I mean, she doesn't matter who walks through the door. Yeah, very, very ball driven, very food motivated, very emo when she doesn't get a lot of attention or people constantly around her. Yeah, so she's pretty, has all the same traits, loves the water, loves puddles, getting dirty. I think she's pretty standard in terms of what's expected of her for her breed.
Yeah. And how is she with your son? Like, do they coexist? Do they get along? Or how does she interact with him?
So initially they were not great. We thought we might actually have to get rid of her because she was very nervous by his mannerisms when he was like between 6 months to a year. He was just really erratic in his verbalizations and behaviors, started to crawl, and Alice just didn't know how to interact with him. She did notice that, like, obviously she wasn't getting any attention, and this thing was getting all of the attention. So We were really, really nervous, which probably affected her as well. Just
Mhm.
every time they were near each other, and she did have like she did do a couple concerning things. Reed would constantly walk over to his her dog bowl as she was eating, and she started showing food aggression, which she's
Mhm.
never done. And we would usually stop it before Reed would get too close. We'd grab him and say, or try and separate them. But now they have a completely symbiotic relationship in which when Reed eats dinner, Alice is right underneath getting samples. Reed has her like lick his hands when he's done. And now when Alice eats, Reed's sitting there eating kibble with her. She'll take out one or two pieces to chew, and they're just it's it's pretty funny. Yeah, but for a few months there, it's a little scary, but now they're besties, I think.
Do you think it just took like time, or was there any sort of like turning point where she kind of figured out how to manage it, or he figured out how to respect her space?
He still definitely does not respect her space at all. And we're trying to teach him that. Like he'll go up to her and like pull on her eyes and like grab her tail, but she's like really good about it. I feel like she's now just kind of accepted her fate as the the sister of this thing.
Mhm.
Um, but the other thing that may have had a huge impact was the turning point of him like transitioning foods. So getting to more solid, like protein based foods, like all things Alice loves. And like
Yeah.
part of him growing up is like throwing a lot of food off his plates. And now it's just like, oh shit, this could really work for me.
Mhm.
So I think that also played a major role. Like the type of food that she was getting from him definitely is way better quality and like smellier and just bigger quantities. And it's less accidental of spillage. Now it's like one for me, one for you. Like he's got it
Mhm.
down to where it doesn't matter how much we yell at him, she's still getting food off of his plate, and usually large amounts. So I think she's realized that there's a lot of good that can come out of the relationship.
Yeah, that makes sense. She's benefiting a lot more
Hmm.
from that. I think I've asked you about this before, but what about her and the cat?
So she grew up with a really large, friendly cat. There
Mm.
was a lot like Frijoles, who is our cat, but had a very similar personality to where nothing really bothered him. Like dogs barking, dogs growling at him, the cat would just like roll over and just like look at him. And that's pretty much why we got Frijoles, is because we wanted a cat that wouldn't really mind however she was going to react. But from the get go, as soon as I brought the kitty into our house, like Alice was just like, I know who you are. Like, I know what you do. I know what you're like. She definitely like looks out for him, and every time he walks in the door, she sniffs him and sees where he's been. But they lay down together. They're competing for attention nicely. But yeah, I think they have a good relationship too.
That's pretty good. Like, I have never even thought about getting a cat, mostly because the Frenchies, I think, want to hunt cats. The first
Mhm.
Frenchie that I had would stalk cats like around corners and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think she thought she was the cat.
Right.
So I've always thought like, yeah, I don't think that a cat would fare well with all the dogs thinking that they're hunting dogs when they're actually not.
I think the other issue is obviously like the pack mentality. And that's where I feel like a lot of, even if Alice were with other dogs, I feel like her behavior would probably change around cats. Yeah, overall, I think her growing up with a cat that like definitely put her in her place when she was little. She's just learned to kind of respect them and know what they're capable of, but also realize that cat food is really good. And if
Yeah.
she doesn't attack the cat, like she'll probably get access to that too.
I think like cat food probably has a lot of the same ingredients as dog food, right? I can't imagine it's like that different. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you imagine Alice's internal voice sounds like? Like, if she had a human sounding voice that sort of narrated her thoughts, what would that sound like?
Yeah, so it's really we do this every day, probably, Elizabeth and I. It's very needy. It's very airheady, very spacey, very yeah, not much complex thought going into anything in her day. Just kind of like, oh, there's a piece of food on the ground. I should eat it now, or I could eat it later, but I'm gonna just go ahead and eat it now. I don't know how many people you can get on here to actually mimic the dog voice, but I don't think I've had enough drink in my day yet for that.
Yeah, to actually mimic Alice's voice.
Call me
What
after five
about
and maybe I'll do it for you.
yeah? What about like a theme song, or if she were if she were an athlete or a baseball player, what would be her walk-on theme song? I've had a lot of people say that their dogs are kind of like circus music, or something like really silly or things like that. I think a couple of mine would probably be like elevator music because I think that's all that
Mm.
goes on inside their heads.
The first thing that comes to my mind is "Girls Just Want to Have Fun" by Cindy Lauper, because that's all she really wants to do is just play and be outside, and she's never had a bad day, never wants to have a bad day.
Does she have any dog friends that like she sees a lot like at the park or on walks? I know in our neighborhood like people don't seem to have a super consistent dog walking schedule, but
No, they
yeah.
don't. She did in San Diego. She definitely had some dog busties. But here, yeah, you're right. Like, we also didn't have a yard in San Diego, so we lived a block away from the dog beach. And there's only two in San Diego, so it was a very much a dog friendly city. So we would see a lot of the same dogs at the dog beach. But she always took to Great Danes. I think I've mentioned that to you before. I don't know what it is, but like she always loved Great Danes. And yeah, just very random dogs. I don't, it's really hard to understand why she like she does the little like the thing where she sees a
Yeah.
dog and she's like, oh, we're gonna get down. It doesn't matter the breed type. It's just I don't know what it is. She'll just meet a dog at a park or at a beach and just be like, you're the one. We're gonna do this dance and like, I don't, yeah, there's nothing more to it.
Yeah, after you mentioned that she came from like a really large family, maybe she just thinks the Great Danes are more of like her family size, the 100-pound plus club.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I will say she was always really submissive to them too. Like even Great Dane puppies when she was a puppy, she was always like, "Oh, you're too big for me. Like I'll do whatever, you
Yeah.
know." But always like very interested in what everything that they do and how they, I don't know, carry themselves.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, they're like horses, so yeah. And then one last thing I wanted to ask was how did she manage or how did she adjust to the move from San Diego to Seattle? With like the different weather and obviously like going from someplace where she'd go out a lot to having a yard, like how did she handle that transition?
Yeah, it's actually something we've talked about a lot. In that I would say that if you asked her, I think her quality of life went down even though she has a massive yard and like yeah, everything she could ever want in terms of space, couches, beds she can lie on. And I think the reason being is that she is more motivated to be around people that she's met or like she just loves to be around people. And like in San Diego, we had family and yeah, even being near the dog beach, she would run over to random people laying in the grass and just like lay next to them and she lives for like the stranger pets. You know, she's like, oh, you're a stranger, you want to pet me. And we just don't do that as much here. Like now that we have a yard, we don't go to the park or go to dog beaches or whatever. We and I didn't realize like how much she really enjoyed just like being around people or parties and like we would take her over to my parents' house and my mom would make her dinner, like literally burritos for dinner and like she knew exactly where she was going, who was there, like not a huge yard or anything, nothing in particular that's great for dogs at their house other than a whole lot of human attention and
Mhm.
new food.
I'll have to schedule more Alice visits then, she so she could get that dopamine hit.
She, I mean, I know we need socialization too, but like it definitely affects her. Like it's funny.
Yeah, I guess you could do like breweries or like cider places or wineries or things like that.
Yeah,
But again, that's also very limiting to like a after five activity or like yeah, it's harder to do sort of on a regular basis without also like becoming an alcoholic or something. So
yeah. I mean, that I don't have a problem with. It's just that the alcoholic institutions don't want me to bring my child there too. So that's like the bigger barriers that we've looked into, like taking her to the vineyards or breweries, and like a lot of them have very clear no kids allowed. No babies allowed, which I understand, but like
Yeah.
it's hard to get her socialized and just to get a babysitter, like we
Yeah.
really do that.
Yeah. Then it becomes like just a big whole thing just to socialize the dog.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'll let you get back to work since I know that you're taking this out of your work schedule.
I know ours. It's light up
Um,
too.
but yeah, thanks. Thanks for taking the call. Thanks for listening, and you can follow Alice's adventures on Instagram at Alice Da Golden. Don't forget too that you can subscribe to My Dog Ate My podcast anywhere that you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Thanks and see you next week.